Swaha. Welcome to class three of astrology. So the very first class we had was talking about the sun, the moon, the rising, the elements, the signature of a chart. In class 2, we talked about house meanings and the opposite signs. And now we're going to talk about dignities. In other words, when planets are in their dignity, meaning they're ruling their own sign, they're very strong. And then we have planets in their detriment, their exaltation, and in their fall. I'm reading out of, I recommended The Only Way to Learn Astrology, Book 1. This is on page 30, but this is an old edition, so the new editions may be better. I still have my Christmas tree up, even though I'm doing this taping on January the 24th of 2024, because I don't take the tree down. It's a little tree, but I don't take it down until my birthday, which is March 3rd. I'm a Pisces. And then about a couple of days after my birthday, it's time to take the tree down. I'm going to go through dignities. Now, when a planet's in the sign it rules, it is dignified. This strengthens our response to it. If a planet is dignified, you control your circumstances. So this is a very confident position of a planet. And I would say to study the planets. In other words, Mercury is the communicator. You should know that now. The moon is your subconscious habits and the way you express your emotions. And it can go up and down because of the phases of the moon. You have, Jupiter is the happy-go-lucky planet because it deals with good fortune and expansion. Sometimes can get you into trouble because having too good of a time is not good either. Saturn is more the disciplinarian, the mature one. Go through the planets, get to know their personalities. That would be a part of your research and your learning about astrology. So we talked about the dignity. Now the moon is dignified in Cancer because the moon rules Cancer. Mercury is dignified in Gemini and Virgo because it rules those two signs. Venus is dignified in Taurus. The sun is dignified in Leo. Mars in Aries and Scorpio because Mars used to rule Scorpio in the classical era, not the modern era of astrology. Because once Pluto was discovered, it became the planet that ruled Scorpio rather than Mars. Jupiter is Sagittarius and Pisces. Jupiter used to rule Pisces. Used to rule Pisces before Neptune was discovered. Saturn is dignified in Capricorn and Aquarius. I can't even believe that Saturn used to rule Aquarius. Aquarius is the rebel of the zodiac. They're not the conservative conformists that Capricorn normally is. Uranus is dignified in Aquarius. Neptune in Pisces and Pluto in Scorpio. So that's a very good, the detriment. Now let's talk about the detriment. When a planet is in the sign opposite the one it rules, it is in its detriment. It does not operate at full power and takes on more of the signs than the planet's coloration. Okay, so it takes on more of the signs character coloration than the planet. If a planet is in detriment, you are visiting where you must confine to rules and regulations. So it's kind of like 50-50. It doesn't feel as comfortable as it would if it was at its dignity or in its exaltation. Exaltation is every planet has one particular sign apart from the one it rules, where it expresses itself harmoniously. This is the sign of its exaltation. The complementary forces are increased and the virtues magnified. If a planet is exalted, you feel comfortable in a friend's home. Moon is exalted in Taurus. Mercury is exalted in Aquarius. Venus is exalted in Pisces. Sun is exalted in Aries. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. You can read the chart. They have a chart so you can read the planet's dignity, detriment, exaltation, and fall when you get the book. I'm just pointing this out to you right now, so in case you don't have the book. I didn't read the detriments, which I probably should have. I'm Pisces, so I get really spaced out. I have a Cazimi conjunction. Cazimi means in the heart of. So it's got to be within 17 minutes. It's a Mercury Sun Cazimi conjunction in Pisces in the ninth house. So I can get really spaced out. I mean, if I didn't meditate, I've been meditating for 45 years as of this taping, every day, twice a day, I would be even more spaced out. So meditation really helps me clear out a lot of that fog that's going on, because Mercury's in the heart of the sun. It's so close to the sun. The rays of the sun miss it. It becomes what they call Cazimi. Cazimi means in the heart of. So it helps it for, especially in the ninth house, which deals with the future, knowing the future, or communicating with higher other dimensions, because Mercury is the communicator, and when it's in a Cazimi conjunction, it can benefit someone really, really who are, channelers and spiritualists, psychics, and that sort of thing. But it's a really good for intuition. But the reason why I was bringing it up is, I can get really spaced out, but I do have enough through my meditation. I have refined it, and I have sometimes it's called combust, meaning the sun is so close to. In Vedic, in Indian, it's terrible for me, because they feel it's burning up Mercury. The sun is it's called combust. It's so close to the sun's burning it up. In Western, it's more of a positive aspect, because they feel it's so close to the sun that the sun rays miss it, therefore it's not really combust. So you're going to get the more you study astrology, the more crazy it gets in terms of, it's not a perfect esoteric science, because it's gone through so much years of evolution, and it's trying to be revived at this point. It's in its baby stage of rediscovering it, really, within ourselves. The more we grow inside of ourselves, the more we rediscover more of the perfection of astrology. So in its detriment, the moon in its detriment is in Capricorn, Mercury in its detriment in Sagittarius or Pisces, Venus in its detriment in Scorpio or Aries, Sun in its detriment in Aquarius, and so forth and so on. I cover, some of the exaltation. So I'll move on to the fall. If a planet is in the sign opposite to its exaltation, it is in its fall, because here it has difficulty expressing its real nature. If a planet is in its fall, you must stay in someone else's home, and do not really feel comfortable there. So, planets in their fall, like the moon is in its fall in Scorpio, is saying it can't express itself as comfortably and normally. So it's going to have, emotional, subconscious issues, maybe issues in childhood. Sometimes, when you think of Scorpio, it can be on the dark side. So depression, loneliness, that sort of thing can happen, and emotional complexities. Mercury is in its fall in Leo. So here you would have somebody who, Leo is usually very confident. So because it's in its fall, communication would not be as confident, because Mercury is the planet of communication. Venus is the planet of beauty and attractiveness, attracting abundance. But when it's in its fall in Virgo, one could be maybe too critical of self and others, is one of the ways you would read that. The sun is in its fall in Libra, so maybe relationships tend to be draining, and they're not as, balanced as you'd like them to be. Librans tend to be, they overdo, they overgive, and then they end up getting drained from that, and eventually they have to put their foot down, but they also have a hard time making up their mind. So the sun is in its fall in Libra. The Mars is in its fall in Cancer. Jupiter in its fall in Capricorn, Saturn in its fall in Aries, and so forth. So these are the, the planets, the dignity, the detriment, the exaltation, and then in their fall. And that pretty much ends this lesson. I would just recommend getting familiar with the planets, their personalities. Mercury being the communicator, Saturn being the disciplinarian, Jupiter being the planet that wants to have fun and good luck, Venus, beauty and attracting abundance. A lot of men and women who have Venus ruling their rising sign, or the moon, or also the sun in Libra, they tend to be the most physically attractive. Not all the time, but most of the time that's what happens. So get familiar with the planets is my point. All right. So thank you for listening. That's class 3, and good luck with your studies. Om Swaha Swaha.